Thanks, Susan, for the introduction. Like Trevor told you earlier, remote sensing can be sometimes complicated, full of complicated algorithms and scripts. But I'll try to keep it short and give you an overview of my research project on soil erosion modeling in South Australia. Recent improvements in land management practices have resulted in an increase of protective soil cover from 280 days in 2002 to about 340 in 2015. So these progresses have significantly reduced erosion risk over the years. But we can't reliably predict yet how changes in land management and climate conditions will impact soil erosion in the future. For instance, with more variable weather conditions, soil losses will probably be more important, which will have a direct impact on land productivity. So what we propose here is to use the latest remote sensing products to model erosion by wind and water in agricultural regions of South Australia. We're using GIS to combine remotely sensed data, such as weather satellite information, fractional vegetation cover, and topography, with other data sets, like digital soil mapping and land use data. Due to advances in spatial technologies, we have now developed models with higher spatial temporal resolution than those used in past decades. Indeed, we can now provide soil losses at a daily, monthly, and annual rate. But we can also navigate through our model outputs from a square kilometer to a hectare scale, which is really relevant to land managers. Additionally, with image fusion techniques and with the current resolution of digital soil mapping and topography, we can improve the spatial resolution of our models even further. So how can we understand changes and understand how those changes in land management and climate conditions will affect future soil losses? Well, we propose to define current soil losses and isolate years with extreme climate weather or climate conditions, and use these as surrogates to predict future soil losses. We also want to identify regions which are currently prone to wind and water erosion and see whether those erosion patterns will change in the future, and potentially highlight new erosion hotspots. And finally, as we've heard all during this conference, weather fire risk will probably increase in the future. So we want to scrutinize how bushfires will affect soil erosion in the future. On that matter, 3 months ago, about 12,000 hectares of crops and pastures burnt in Sherwood near Keith in the southeast region, so about 2.5 hours drive from here. This region is historically prone to wind erosion, so we use this event as an opportunity to monitor real-time wind erosion in this region. We're using a protocol developed by the US Department of Agriculture in 2015, and we're looking at 1 hectare plots. We're collecting dust with those samplers here that we've designed, and those sediments are collected about every 3 weeks. These sediment measurements will enable the detection of spatial variability in sediment mass flux within the plots and the evaluation of spatial temporal patterns of sediment transport within those sites. This method generates the minimum data required to calibrate and validate our wind erosion model. Additionally, it's intended to evaluate the transport variance following established cost-effective protocols for measuring spatial variability in soil redistribution. So in conclusion, the models that we're using require readily available inputs, can produce high-resolution outputs, and be updated frequently through the use of automated scripts. From our results, we'll therefore be able to identify future regions at risk of soil erosion and predict current and future soil losses. This tool that we're developing could then be used for decision-making in wind erosion mitigation. So I'd like to thank my supervisors, both from the University of Adelaide and the Department of Environment and Water, and all the project members who've helped me throughout the project. So if you're interested in knowing more about the project, or if you have specific questions, don't hesitate to contact me or just come to me at the drinks later. Thanks for your attention.